Commence primary ignition.
I'm just not the hero type, clearly.
What a piece of junk.
Enterprise, this is the captain.
I got a bad feeling about this.
It's all part of the plan.
Engage.
Welcome back to Podcast 2 for 1. I'm your host, Donovan Thompson, with my co-host,
Daniel Wingfield.
and we are back again with Travis Mosler.
Again, actually.
Again.
Yeah.
This is episode 75.1. We happened to record a whole episode almost about the TV show. We had some technical difficulties, so we are going to bring you a baby cast version of this episode because we want to hit that episode 75 with Invincible. We've been teasing you guys for a while. If you don't know what a baby cast is, it's all the good, juicy stuff that you get in a podcast, the adult stuff, but it's condensed down into like under 30 minutes.
Shrink wrapped.
It's a nice little baby. It's a baby cast. You can literally listen to this in the shower and dry off and be done. You're good. So guys,
Cast for a baby.
Exactly. So guys, let's talk Invincible. We Robert Kirkman, Amazon Prime. It's produced by Seth Rogen. We have a character named Mark Grayson who gets his powers on Earth. His dad is Omni-Man, who's basically like this godlike Superman figure. We have a Justice League-like group called the Guardians of the Globe. And we are thrust into this world again. I remember texting you guys. My experience with the show is just, reading a few comics, not really having any larger contacts. And I was always very interested in it. And then going in after the first episode, I was like, holy shit, this is something we should probably be watching. And we had internal conversations and we kind of all jumped on the game there. So real quick impressions of the show. Hit you guys up again. We're on a baby cast, so let's kind of keep them short and sweet. Travis?
So, one of the main things that I loved about this show is I don't have any background with the comics. I'm coming in this totally blind. I haven't read any of the storylines or character synopsis or anything, but there's apparently a rich source material that this is based on. That being said, coming into this blind, the show does an incredible job of introducing us to the deep lore and the mythos, the hero powers and skill sets of all these different characters and stuff. And it's so deep and interesting. The one that stuck out to me that we got a glimpse of was the Immortal whenever he's being resurrected by the Mauler twins.
Right.
They're like banging on his chest and we're getting these like Thor-like flashbacks to his conquests of old and other planets and stuff, and just seeing all these very rich scenes. And that's fascinating to me. And another thing that I mentioned is this world is interesting because in a superhero filled world like this, these types of conflicts don't pause for each other, or that you don't think they would. And like the MCU and the DC and stuff, it seems like the major conflicts kind of take shifts. It's like, oh, you're done now. Now I'm going to start trying to defeat the world. Okay, now you're done. Okay, now it's my turn. But here, we've got Teen Team, we've got the Guardians of the Globe, we've got all these other superheroes, and we have Cecil and their secret organization that's like project managing it all. Simultaneously, we've got the Martians, we've got there's so many things going on, so many plots. So from a world building standpoint, that's fascinating. But the way from a storytelling standpoint, they're able to juggle all of these different storylines. They do it with such efficiency, and the flow of the show is just great. The cliffhangers at the end of every episode, the dread of what's going to happen with characters that we've become attached to. It's great. It's a really good watch. It's pretty rough. There's a lot of language. There's a lot of blood. That's just kind of part of it for this series. But that's what they're going for, that kind of realism take that like the boys have done before. But I like this. I like this more than the boys, just because it's a little more grounded and endearing, and
a bit more optimistic.
From a superhero standpoint, it feels vaguely familiar from what we've gotten to know with superheroes that we know, mixed with a hint of realism that makes it new and interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So,
Daniel.
Yeah. In starting off, I'll just give a shout out to the title screen that gets bloodier every episode. Love it. Love that. And then the way they always, like, at first I was like, okay, but like when they would always like someone's about to say the word and it pops up. But by the end, I
Yeah.
liked it a lot.
It gets to be pretty funny. I guess he's gonna have to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But eventually, I was just like, I'm enjoying the
Yeah.
hamminess of that though.
Yeah.
Some
really
of the
weird,
lines
but
are
it's
really cool because it's like they don't stop their like cadence to introduce it. It just like
Yeah,
splashes
exactly.
over. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, where's?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I love it.
Yeah, I
Good
loved the
technique.
show. I loved the show. I thought it was fantastic. I thought the world, the characters feel very real, very nuanced, very gray. From Omni-Man, the ultimate antagonist who is obviously wrestling with some kind of feelings of attachment to this planet that he was sent to conquer and destroy. To Mark, pulling off the kind of the classic Peter Parker narrative arc of struggling with real world issues, girlfriend problems and all that while trying to be a superhero. And I think you talked about the violence, Travis. I think the violence in the show feels so intentional to me. It feels like we're getting real character and narrative motivation, and it's feeding into the world, not just being shock value. I think there's several really violent, really cool fight scenes. We've got the one at the end of episode 1 with Omni-Man and killing the Guardians of the Globe. The one we haven't brought up yet that I really loved was that big lion guy. Was it episode 5 or 6 maybe?
Battle Beast is his name.
Yeah. It was fucking awesome. Like he destroys the Guardians of the Globe. He fucking destroys Invincible nearly, and then you pan up and Omni-Man's up there watching the whole time, not himself.
And the fact that there is this whole like underworld power struggle that's just totally under the radar the whole time.
Yes.
Yeah.
These little mini plots, like you said, Travis, there's so much going on, from the Martians invading to the parasite moon episode where the parasites are infecting the astronauts. And I just loved that Mark was at fault there, of course, and wasn't paying attention or whatever. It's just a really well thought out show that takes a lot of familiar concepts, and like I mentioned earlier, there's some Dragon Ball Z-ness to this, and the good kind. I think the good parts of Dragon Ball Z, that the epicness, the hype, the battles, the stakes, and all that, I think are very reminiscent of that, and it just does everything really, really well. Like, it's hard for me to find much of a flaw in the show. Like, I pretty much enjoyed everything it gave to us. There wasn't really an episode where I left unsatisfied or wasn't like salivating for the next episode.
Yeah.
Right. No, I mean, there's not really much more I can say. I agree with everything you guys said. I'm enjoying it. I'm loving it. I keep, in our previous conversations, I keep bringing up the Peter Parker parallel, and I love this aspect that it's showing that high schoolness of Mark and his relationships, not only with his girlfriends, but his friends, and also his parents, and just in the world at large. I want to kind of go through some of these characters, and we'll kind of touch upon them briefly, and then a few topics after that. We'll kind of wrap up this baby cast. Let's talk about Mark real quick. He is our protagonist. Let's talk about him and his relationship with Amber, and even Omni-Man and his mom, Debbie. How do you guys feel about this? I kind of love the dynamic between him and Amber, and we kind of reveal later, she like, dummy, I knew you were invincible for a while now, which shows her intelligence. And I also just like, which actually is a Mary Jane beat from the old comics for Peter Parker, actually. But I love it. It feels like a real relationship, and it feels like it's got consequences for being late and all those classical, things we see in movies.
Yeah, I really like Mark. I think Mark, and I agree. I think it's hard to talk about Mark without including Amber and Omni-Man and Nolan, because it's all connected so deeply. I really liked Amber. I agree. I liked that she just felt like a real character. And there's something about the show that I felt like there's a real modernness to this show, from the music to the designs of the characters to like the concepts they're talking about. But it doesn't feel like we fellow kids level. Like, it feels like people that actually are understanding the current day kind of zeitgeist and culture. and able to naturally portray that, and again, in a way that doesn't feel forced, right? That feels normal, that feels natural. And that's something that you can't always find when people are trying to be really relevant, right? Or really, modern day. Yeah. But they nailed it. But, I loved Amber. I loved, I think obviously Omni-Man and Mark's relationship is the core of the show, is what everything's built around. We talked before about Omni-Man's struggle with realizing Mark has had powers and how that's forcing him back to his original mission, and kind of the conflict we see kind of going on with him. Something else, even bring up Deborah. There's that one scene when they're all at the table and, Deborah says, "I taught you how to save people, Nolan. Don't forget, I taught you how to be a hero." Right. Yeah. So very much Deborah is representative of his conscience almost. And is, obviously they make this correct connection very, very distinct, that her role in Mark's life has been hugely important to shaping him to who he is. Right. And to be the compassionate, superhero that he is. But yeah, really enjoyed it all. Mark, I mean, that whole family dynamic, I'm just, there's even something at the end I want to shout out. Once, we're kind of in the, epilogue and we're kind of wrapping things up, and Deborah goes to the costume guy again. Right. And she's having a whiskey with him and she's like, "I miss him. After everything he's done, I still miss him." And he's like, "Yeah, me too." And he looks over at that picture of them going on a fishing trip or something. And you're like, that feels real to me. That feels even real life to when we humans go through trauma, especially from a loved one, there is that dichotomy that I can never look at you the same way again. And yet I miss what we had or what was there before. Yeah, man, just fantastic. Fantastic writing, fantastic characters.
Travis, I want you to kind of piggyback off that and kind of talk about now from the Omni-Man perspective, specifically from episode 1, and kind of talk about what he is dealing with and how that retroactively kind of mirrors the first episode, and kind of wrap that up in a bow for us and your thoughts on it. Because I think we're all pretty much in agreement there.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about it Atlantically as opposed to specifically, if that's okay.
That works too.
Please.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, so like we said, their relationship, the father-son relationship, was kind of the heartbeat of the whole thing, and makes the Viltrumite conflict just that much more complex. We've seen, and it's explained to us, that Omni-Man was sent here to conquer Earth. That is his mission. But in his words, he got comfortable. His job was to infiltrate this world and destroy it from within their governments, their structures, their whatever they have going on in their civilization. That's what the Viltrumite mission has become. But he found a woman and fell in love, as the humans say, and had a spawn, and now has got this life that they make it apparent that even as cold and calculated as he kind of comes off, or definitely comes off towards the end, it's clear that part of his heart is attached to his family and to his situation that he's got right now. So when Mark gets his powers, it flips a switch in Omni-Man's mind, because he starts to snap back to reality. There goes my mission. And it starts a ticking clock, because it's well, if I'm going to follow through with my mission, I've got to do it soon. Otherwise, my son, who has Viltrumite powers, is going to become more powerful and be an actual challenging adversary to what I'm doing, because he's growing attached to this world. It's going to be hard to turn him once he's as powerful as I am, and it's going to be a lot more complicated. So he starts to train him quickly, and he has a plan to fill him in on the mission. And at the end of episode 1 is where we see him kill the Guardians of the Globe. That's our cliffhanger, and we're just left there with our jaws on the floor, okay, I'm totally in this series, and I got to figure out what's going on here, because apparently the stakes are incredibly high. There's some incredibly complex character goals here. But long story short, in the end, when Omni-Man's cover is blown. He's going full conquer and trying to take out the powers that be before he completes his total takeover of the planet. Mark comes back and finds him and realizes that he's done something horrible. And Mark's first assumption is that he's evil, something that is controlling him. He's like, "What's controlling you, Dad? Like, we've got to stop this." And he's like, "No, this is me. Like, this is what I'm doing. I meant to tell you this." And Mark is faced with the reality of that mission. And eventually, Omni-Man has beaten Mark into a pulp, and we have our Captain America Bucky moment of "I'm with you to the end of the line."
Yeah, that's a good. I didn't think about that.
Basically, Mark is defenseless, helpless, lying there in a pool of blood, and just saying, like, the question Omni-Man asks him is, you're going to live for thousands of years. All of your friends, everything that you love about this planet is going to be gone like hundreds of years ago. What will you have then? And his response is, "I'll still have you, Dad."
Oof.
And
such a good line. Yeah.
And you just see Omni-Man enraged at the fact that strikes a chord with his heart.
Yeah.
And so he runs away. Like he flies off into the galaxy, never to be heard from again in this season. And we later find out when Mark goes out to intercept
Seth Rogen. Yep.
Yeah, Seth Rogen's character is like, "Oh, dude, I just found out there's a Viltrumite here. I was going to warn you." We find out from him that there's never been a Viltrumite who has ever abandoned his post without conquering the world like he was quested to do. And so that is hugely significant. And that shows we're leading up to an impending in-game level conflict with an entire race of Omni-Men type of people. And I think the scales are just going to continue, because I don't think it's an accident that at the end of the finale, they didn't just announce season 2, but they announced season 3. So we know there's a big, long plot that's leading to an ultimate climax that's going to be a heck of a ride.
Yeah, I think they mentioned Robert Kirkman come out in the last 2 days, said, he goes, "Yeah, I'm imagining 5 to 7 seasons total to kind of tell the story." So we'll be talking about this for a little bit, boys. I hope there's not year-long gaps. There might be, but I'm hoping it's like 8 months, 6 months, 8 months.
Well,
gaps.
I mean, the type of animation that they're doing, like it's the production time should not last very long.
I'm hoping not.
Apparently they have like 2 animating studios. I was reading that they have an A team and a B team almost. Like the A team takes all the crazy fights and and then they spend an extra amount of time on those while the B team's kind of animating the more normal
they got
stuff.
the animators of the globe, and then they got the teen animators.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, there's this growing trend in the last 10, 15 years, specifically in anime, where basically there's like 2D animation mixed with 3D animation, and most of the time that just does not work. It feels kind of weird. I will say Invincible, more so than not, it does a good job of blending the two and really in interesting ways and dynamic ways and ways that don't take you out of it. There's 2 things here. We're kind of running out of time, guys. One of them we'll get to in a second. Let's keep our thoughts here short. I love how smart the show is. And a few examples is, one, the villain conflicts. We have one episode where we fight a race of aliens that are dealing with a time issue. They age differently in their dimension, and so they can come back more prepared every couple of days. We deal with even Mark helping a villain take over an underground mob group, essentially, that will pay off probably down the line. We have Cecil and his government organization. We talked at one point about how there's even this government organization is polluting the water, and there's frequencies of color in light that we can't even see. I just like all these interesting things. You mentioned Seth Rogen on the planet, all these different aspects to me are what making the show fresh. Is there anything specific, like those examples there, that you guys really are drawn to that's like, "Oh, this is clever," or "I like that," or give me some quick tidbits real quick. What do you think?
Yeah, I really loved all the government stuff. I really loved the whole investigation of the Guardians of the Globe. And hush. Sorry, trying to get my dogs to shut up. Okay, so God. So I really loved the whole investigation of the deaths. I loved the whole putting people in the house across from Nolan to watch them, the Graysons. I love, and that kind of shorter guy with the glasses. I loved his character. He was just so fun. I loved the demon detective.
Damien Darkblood.
Damien
Darkblood.
So cool. Great
name.
You know, they're Hellboy, and it's just perfect. But one of my favorite parts of their whole thing was at the end in the finale when Nolan's just on a warpath and he's just like pulling out every stop he can think of. It's just like, you know, he does like he's like, well, let's do this. He's like, that won't work. He's like, it'll buy us 5 minutes though. You know, it's like just like buying minutes at all. Like he does that whole like teleport thing where he's just fucking with Nolan and kind of like, you know, just messing with him.
It's like, you can't stop me. Yeah, but I can delay you.
Yeah, exactly. It's so good. It's just so cool. And I love, you know, Cecil's character because he's like this, you know, you like him because he's helping and he's in control of a lot of things and he's got all this cool shit. There's also like, yeah, but I could see you being an issue at some point. Like, you know, he's still like the government type where he has, you know, the government's issues at, you know, at first priority.
The ends justify the means in a lot of ways.
Exactly. Sure. Exactly. So yeah, loved all that stuff. Just
in that scene, I loved Deborah, and a couple of the texts constantly were like, wait, we could do that? Wait, we still have that like monster, like what? This is we have access to have an Omni-Man destroying satellite? Like
right. There's so much to talk about.
Yeah, man,
there's a lot to talk about, but we're kind of running out of time. I kind of real quick, what do you guys expect going forward in season 2 and what's your hopes? And give me the good minute-long version of that. Give me a good condensed minute-long version. Give me your pitch for what you want to see. Travis.
So we get a glimpse in the finale of all the lingering threads plot-wise with the conflicts, the dark underworld scene with the concrete guy that took over the mantle of that power guy.
And that was
that's his name, that power guy. Go on.
The concrete power guy.
Was that Mahershala Ali's character?
Oh, I don't know. That'd be cool. If it
I'm
was.
sure he was played by some Oscar winner somewhere.
They got a cast, that's for sure. We got Walter Goggins as Cecil. The guy, I can't think of his name, from Walking Dead is Mark Grayson.
That was
J.K. Simmons as Nolan, Omni-Man. I mean, there's a lot of people. Seth Rogen's in it. Of course, he's a producer.
That was Mahershala Ali. The concrete guy was Mahershala Ali.
That's awesome. We got Zachary Quinto as the robot, which we didn't even talk about. There's a lot we haven't talked about, but go on, Travis. Sorry.
So we've got the Martians, the parasites, the time travel dimension aliens. We've got all those big conflicts that we're going to see, probably in the same type of episode by episode conflicts happening at the same time. From a character standpoint, driving some of the eventual conflicts, I'm hoping to see Deborah come into play in a big way with Omni-Man versus Earth. And I don't want to see her used kind of like Martha or like Lois, like, oh, I don't want to, but
sure.
I could see Omni-Man killing her in kind of a Ben Solo killing Han, trying to like kickstart himself into the dark side, or cut off his tie so that he can focus on his mission, but he's still drawn and has a heart for his son. Like, that could be something, or she could be the thing that brings him back home in a way. Like, I think she'll play an integral role in Omni-Man's final motivations in that final conflict. So,
yeah, I'll say this. I really want to get to the Viltrumite stuff fast because I want to see that conflict play out. But I know that's ultimately has to be the end game. There was this meme kind of going around, and I don't have too much context for it, but I could kind of infer some things. I almost sent it to you guys, but I didn't. It had Omni-Man on the top, and it said, if you think this guy is bad, wait until you see these two. And it was 2 other Viltrumites. So apparently we got some conflict coming our way in the show that's based on
some heavy hitters.
Some heavy hitters that are even make Omni-Man look kind of sad. I'm excited for the show. I just give it to me tomorrow. That's my issue with it.
Yeah.
Daniel, what's your hopes and dreams?
Yeah, I think, talking about where this show could go, I think that very much depends on where Omni-Man went right after this. Did he go back to Viltrumite and report in and be like, we got issues, I need backup? Or did he deuce out and go MIA and, you know what I mean, kind of going on a soul-searching mission or something, I could see both. I
could see him going and like conquering some easy planets just to like get
his confidence back,
Well, it's just going off and pissing himself off thinking about it, you know what I mean, and coming back even more pissed. I really am. I'm honestly really looking forward to all the tiny little plot threads we have going. I love. The astronaut parasite shit. I really loved Mahershala Ali's Luke Cage-esque character. All of that stuff. I think the lion, battle lion. I can't remember. Battle beast. Yeah.
Daniel, get it right.
Sorry.
Didn't they show him again? They showed him.
They did. Oh yeah, he was a part of the end montage. He was in the end montage. Yeah.
Because he was like, aside from Omni-Man, I think he was the most powerful superhero we saw in the series.
I know we gotta wrap this up, but I wonder if being human, what if there's some power that he has that not even the Viltrumites have that gives him the edge? Because like if there's an army of Viltrumites out there, how are they going to win? Maybe there's I don't know. Maybe they don't win, but how do they win? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's his X factor?
Together.
I think part of it is probably going to be some it sounds cheesy saying it like this, but I'm sure they can do it well. But like the human hope, the belief in hope, the human's nature of hoping and believing in the good of things versus Viltrumites are super cynical. I mean, honestly, I could see his mom.
I would roll my eyes so hard though if they were like,
I really feel like
our biggest strength is we believe in ourselves.
No, but I think it could be like I could see Omni-Man coming back at some point, being so pissed and immediately killing Deborah in front of Mark.
Yeah, something like that's why I'm like,
that being what sets Mark off and turns him into something different. But it also being I don't know. I mean, it does sound cheesy, but at the same time, they did a few things that are kind of cheesy in this season, but they did it.
Humanity's superpower is love.
There you go.
Well, the flashback scene with Deborah and the whole, the baseball scene, right? Like that wasn't the most. It was a little on the nose, the speech, but I mean, I think it still worked for me. Based on everything else that was around it. At the finale, when he's getting his ass whooped and they flash back to when Mark hits the home run or whatever.
Yeah.
And I love the whole it goes from Mark as a little kid with teeth missing to Mark getting his ass whooped with teeth missing. Yeah, the parallel there was great.
Oh, wow, I didn't even catch that.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
No, that's cool. Daniel, how can our listeners write into us? Oh, sorry.
Travis, go ahead.
Sorry. I mean, I was going to say, I mean, I like the idea of there being some kind of secret vulnerability of the Viltrumites that the humans have a unique way of exploiting. But I wouldn't want it to be like, oh, no, this is super easy. I want it to be kind of an equalizer where we still have some significant conflict, but victory is a possibility, So... Yeah, and I think in the present status of what we understand about the Viltrumites versus Earth and all of its heroes, it's a pretty lopsided.
But it's not going to be just Earth. It sounds like it's going to be that whole group. Seth Rogen talks. He's like, the United. Whatever.
Oh yeah, well that's true.
Organization of planet people that are ganging up to stand up against the Viltrumites.
Which I thought was great. It gives him comfort that even though this is terrible and X, Y, and Z, it's kind of small in comparison to the universe. I like to kind of mention that sitting on the rock. No, there's a lot to talk about, and I'm excited to watch the show. And then maybe next season we can kind of break it down as we go and kind of talk about it every couple episodes and what we expect next.
There's enough story too, for sure.
Yeah, I think we could at least do maybe 2 episodes at a time or whatever.
There's other stuff.
I would love to spend more time on some of these, like the Martian invasions and
me too.
Stuff.
Yeah, and Monster Girl and Robot and Rudolph Connors and the what were the
The Molotov.
Reaniman, the mad scientist monster.
Yeah,
people.
that they end up
Oh,
making
yeah.
work for the government. Yeah, it's building
Yeah,
an army.
they-
That was another little thing at the end of the montage of that him building
it
an
was.
entire army of those dudes. Because those guys
Yeah.
actually kind of held their own against Omni-Man for like a couple
They
minutes.
did. They really pissed him off.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. Well, Daniel, how can our listeners write into us?
They can write into bit.ly/241mail. We'd love to hear your comments and your thoughts about Invincible Season 1. What was your favorite character? What was your favorite episode? There was a lot of things that we didn't even get a chance to touch on that happened throughout these episodes. I want to give a shout out to Justin Roiland's frat guy character in the episode with the first guys getting like he just was playing basically his Rick character, and it felt like they were just on prayer. Like let's just throw him in there and just be your normal character you are in all your shows, and it was hilarious and worked. So yeah, let me know, what was your favorite episode? What was your favorite little mini plot? Was it the Martians? Was it the moon parasites? Was it Battle Beast? I think I said it right this time. bit.ly/241mail.
And of course, if you can't hit us up at our bit.ly, you can always go to the youtube.com/241studios, leave a comment below there on the video. Again, hit that subscribe button. It's the best way to consume the content. And we have a brand new website, 241studios.com. Check it out.
Sexy.
And I think we got some cool stuff on there. It's fun to look at. So yeah, guys, thank you guys so much for being on the channel. This is episode 75 of the podcast. So we are on our way now to episode 100. And then I can
That's the semi-sesquicentennial episode.
There we go. Perfect.
Everyone knows that.
That's Why, I don't know why
Why'd you even bring it up? It's
like,
a little bit of on the nose, Travis. I mean,
I felt a little insulted, like I wouldn't know that. Yeah.
You didn't know, dude. That was my spelling bee word in like first grade. Come on, guys.
Oh,
the title of
first
my
grade
thesis.
that late, huh? All right, guys. Well, my name is Donovan Thompson.
I'm Daniel Wingfield.
And I'm Travis Mosler.
You should have just left it. Oh, it's okay.
I know. I was going to give him time to say whatever he wanted to say. I know how this goes.
And I'm a monkey's uncle.
Yep. And we have spoken.